When I showed up at the wedding, my daughter shocked me. "Dad, go away forever." The afternoon was golden, drenched in sunlight that made everything seem magical, but it was far from perfect. People milled about the garden, laughter mingling with the soft notes of a string quartet. I was ready to see my daughter marry the love of her life, but as I stepped into the crowd, something felt off. I could sense a weight in the air, an uneasy stillness that hushed the joyous sounds around me. Then came the moment that flipped my world upside down. There she was, standing in a flowing white dress, her hair catching the breeze like a halo. But when she turned and saw me, a look of pure horror crossed her face. It was like someone had pulled the strings of the universe and threw everything into chaos. "Dad, go away forever," she screamed, her voice piercing through the warm air like a knife. Every eye turned towards me, and I felt my throat tighten, a lump forming that threatened to choke my emotions. The moments that followed were surreal. Guests whispered, shock etched on their faces. A group of women gasped, while a man in a tux stumbled back, nearly spilling his champagne. Their reactions were like echoes, each one amplifying the confusion I felt. How could my daughter, the little girl who once clung to my leg, now publicly renounce me? Flames of betrayal flickered in my chest as I scanned the crowd for answers, but they all looked just as bewildered as I was. What had happened in the weeks leading up to this? Did she know something I didn't? Tension swirled around me like a storm. I wanted to reach out, to break through the fog of disbelief that enveloped us, but I couldn't move. A chill crept down my spine as all I could hear was my heartbeat, pulsing loudly in my ears, drowning out the laughter that had turned into whispers. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the crowd began to murmur, I noticed a flicker of something in my daughter's eyes. Was it fear or anger? The veil of her wedding dress shimmered, and with it my dreams for her swayed dramatically. She was walking away from me, from everything we built together. I felt like a ghost at my own funeral, a figure fading into the background while the real world celebrated something I was no longer a part of. Every second seemed to stretch endlessly as my heart raced with questions I dreaded to ask. What could possibly have pushed her to say those words? What dark tide had swept in to pull her away? The answers hovered just out of reach, and my world was slipping through my fingers. Desperation clawed at me, demanding to know if I could even repair the bond we once shared. As I stood there, lost between hope and terror, the real nightmare began to unfold. The atmosphere grew thick, a palpable tension that wrapped around me like a vice. I dared to step forward, caught between instinct and fear. The chatter around me was now a dull roar, every voice blending into an incomprehensible sound. I couldn't bear the weight of curious, judgmental eyes that seemed to bore straight through my chest. It felt as though the entire world had turned against me in an instant. "Ellie," I finally managed to croak out, but my voice fell flat against the sea of onlookers. She didn't even turn to acknowledge me, still marching away, her gown sweeping behind her like a phantom trailing shadows. The string quartet had gone silent, perhaps frozen by the scene unraveling before them. How could this be happening? I had come here to celebrate, not to bear witness to a cataclysm. What's wrong with her? A nearby guest whispered, disbelief edged with concern coloring their tone. Around me the chatter continued, and there I stood, a mere spectator of my own life, enveloped in confusion. Anxiety clamped around my throat. I felt a need to defend myself, to explain, but what could I say? Was it true? Did I deserve this punishment? I racked my brain, piecing together fragments of our lives. What missteps had led us here? The gnawing realization of my failures clawed at the edges of my mind. I had made mistakes. Anyone could see that now. That as I fought back the swell of tears, I noticed my daughter halt at the altar podium. Her husband-to-be, handsome and oblivious, stood frozen, waiting for the ceremony to resume. He couldn't fathom the storm brewing in her heart, nor the sudden rupture of family ties. I flipped my eyes to the guests. Some leaned forward, eager for entertainment, while others wore faces splattered with sympathy. There was no going back now. Dad! The voice broke through my thoughts. It was Ellie again, shaking her head with fierce determination. Just leave. Panic seized me. I had to know why. The last thing I wanted was to harm her. Yet here I was, an unwelcome presence in what should have been one of the happiest days of her life. The fight inside me waned, and all I could do was plead silently with her through my tear-stained eyes. Then in an urgent whisper, a familiar voice cut through the swirl of emotions. It was Mia, my oldest friend. Her face creased with concern as she moved closer. "We need to talk," she murmured, her glance flickering from Ellie to me, heavy with unspoken words. Before I could express my confusion, she stepped back, her expression tightening as she pointed discreetly towards the entrance of the garden. "Follow me." My heart raced, skipping beats as I looked back at my daughter. She still stood, a statue wrapped in whispered accusations. Questions flooded my mind. What did Mia know? What could possibly be unfolding beyond this moment? The air thickened with urgency as I weighed my next move. With one last glance at Ellie, my decision crystallized. I nodded to Mia, following her quietly as we slipped away from the chaos. The intricate details of the wedding faded behind us, the laughter and clinks of glasses growing dim. What revelations awaited me? As we stepped into the shadows, a bright sense of foreboding washed over me. Knowing this was just the beginning. The world outside the wedding felt stark and surreal, like stepping into an alternate reality. The laughter and joy faded into a distant echo as Mia led me through the garden's winding pathways. The moon hung low, casting ghostly light on manicured hedges and blooming roses, their sweet scent now suffocated by the heaviness in my chest. What's going on? What does Ellie mean? I found my voice trembling, heart pounding. Mia's expression remained sober as she glanced back, ensuring we were alone before speaking. "It's not just her, Mark. It's everything. The rumors they've grown. There's something bigger happening." Her eyes were serious, dripping with urgency. "What rumors? What do you know?" Panic clawed at me, threatening to spill over. I could feel my stomach churning, a mix of dread and anticipation. "People are talking about your past, things you thought were buried." Her words hung in the air like a thick fog. I could hardly breathe, and my heart felt like a jackhammer against my ribs. The past? What past? Just then, an abrupt rustling behind us made both our heads snap around. My instincts kicked in, a primal urge to protect. A figure emerged from the shadows, sharp features illuminated by the moonlight. I gasped involuntarily, recognizing Jason, my daughter's fiancé. "Why are you two sneaking around?" he demanded, suspicion lacing his voice. My heart sank further. "Mia and I were just..." But Mia cut me off, her voice steady yet urgent. "We have to go, Jason. It's not safe here." He narrowed his eyes, probing deeper. "What did you hear? What did you say to Ellie?" I could see the tension building in his posture, like a spring ready to snap. "Listen to her. This is bigger than you think," I urged, stepping closer. "I'm trying to protect Ellie." "Protect her?" he scoffed. "From what? You're not even supposed to be here. This is supposed to be a celebration." But instead his voice went dark, accusation dripping from every word. "I'm her father. I just need to talk to her." I shot back, desperation echoing in my throat. "Then maybe you should have thought about that before you ruined her life." Jason's voice rose, raw with emotion. Just as he said it, I felt the very ground begin to shift beneath us. Mia stepped in front of me, her hands raised. "This isn't the time for this. If you care about Ellie, you need to understand this is not just about you." Jason's shoulders relaxed slightly, but his expression was still grim. "What do you mean, not just him? What is happening?" Mia's eyes flickered with the weight of the truth she was about to reveal. "There's someone here tonight who knows everything. And if Ellie sees you with that person, it might destroy everything." "What do you mean, everything?" I felt my heart racing, urgency clawing at me from every angle. Mia took a deep breath, each intake heavy with the weight of unsaid words. "You know that lawyer in town, the one we thought was a friend? Yes, he helped Ellie with her college applications, but what does he have to do with this? Mark, he's been reaching out to Ellie, and he might have been part of what happened." A cold chill snaked down my spine. I couldn't comprehend it. My mind raced to connect dots that felt impossibly distant. What happened? What did I miss? Just then, A shadow flickered in the distance, a familiar figure advancing towards us. My stomach twisted, realizing the truth was about to manifest in the worst way imaginable. "Ellie!" I shouted instinctively, but as she emerged into the moonlight, her face was transformed, etched with a mix of anger and vulnerability that pierced me like a dagger. "Dad, you need to leave now." The words hit like a thunderclap, echoing in the tense silence around us. She was more than angry, she was terrified. "What is she talking about?" Jason asked, stepping closer. As I looked into my daughter's eyes, a realization gripped me. The harboring chaos wasn't just mine. It had seeped into her soul. I had failed her in more ways than one, and the unraveling threads were about to snap entirely. "Please just let me explain," I pleaded. But just as her lips parted to reply, the shadow took form, revealing an unexpected presence that would change everything. An unexpected visitor from my past, standing on the edge of our chaotic reunion. "Mark," the figure whispered, and everything inside me froze. The truth hung in the air, and the question of how it all would unfold magnetically was just beginning. I stood frozen, staring at the figure before me, my breath hitching in my throat. The last person I expected to see was Lucy, my ex-wife. She had vanished from my life like a ghost years ago, and here she was, haunting me again in this moment of chaos. Her ashen face spoke of bitterness, and a whirlwind of emotions swirled between us. "Mark," she repeated, her tone a mixture of disbelief and disdain. My mind raced as the past clawed at me, each memory sharp and painful. "Why are you here?" I balanced between shock and fury. "You shouldn't be here." Ellie took a step back, her eyes darting between us, full of confusion and fear. "Mom, what's going on?" Lucy shifted her gaze to her daughter, and for a fleeting moment, her expression softened. But the hardness returned, cloaked in the secrets that lingered like shadows around us. "Ellie, this is not the time. You need to listen to me." My pulse quickened, the desire to protect Ellie almost overwhelming. "She doesn't need to hear this. What kind of nightmare is this?" "We don't have the luxury of time, Mark," Lucy snapped, her voice cutting like glass. "Ellie's in danger. The rumors, they're real. You think you can come to this wedding and act like everything's fine? What the hell are you talking about?" I shot back, my voice rising. The tension in the air was thick, almost suffocating. Jason stepped in closer to Ellie, a protective stance growing around her. "We're not going to drag her into this. Whatever you think you know, just stop." "You think this is about you?" Lucy interjected, venom lacing her words. "The truth is that the more you try to protect her, the deeper you dig the grave. The man you're trying to shield her from is closer than you think." My heart raced as I processed her words. "What man? Who are you talking about?" Questions coiled inside me, scratching to be freed. Mia's voice trembled. "What did you do, Lucy?" She stepped forward, her tone low, almost pleading. "I didn't do anything yet," Lucy replied, glancing around as if someone were watching us. "But it's only a matter of time before he makes his move. He knows about Ellie and he knows about your past." "Why now?" I felt the room start to tilt, the world around me shifting in a heartbeat. "Why are you here now of all times? Why show up to threaten my daughter?" "Because you need to wake up, Mark," she shouted, her frustration palpable. I wouldn't let her end up like me. The fragile silence encasing us shattered, and I could hear distant chatter from the wedding guests, unaware of the storm brewing in the garden. Then suddenly Ellie cried out, "Stop it! Just stop talking. You're scaring me." Quickly, I felt Jason's arm around her shoulders, trying to offer comfort amid the chaos. "Ellie, listen to us. We're trying to help." "No." Ellie's voice cracked, and the panic rippled through her as she looked back at Lucy. "You're both scaring me. This is supposed to be my wedding." The weight of her anger and fear was like a punch to my gut. Lucy's eyes softened again for a fleeting moment, but it vanished as quickly as it came. "You don't understand the danger. You don't know who you're surrounded by tonight." "Trust me, I didn't want to come back, but I had to warn you." Before she could finish, a dark figure broke through the shadows behind her, tall and imposing. I recognized him immediately, and a chill crept up my spine. It was the lawyer Nathan, the one Lucy had warned us about. "Hello, Mark," he said, a predatory smile stretching across his face. "Looks like I'm just in time." Panic surged as Ellie shivered beside me, and all pretense melted away. "Who are you?" I fired back, standing like a wall to protect Ellie. Get away from us. But Nathan simply laughed. The sound echoed across the enchanting garden, turning the beauty into something sinister. You're in over your head, old friend. Every muscle in my body tensed, the palpable fear crystallizing in the air. With my heart racing, I felt the energy shift. Choices lay ahead of me, but the stakes were impossibly high. Would I risk exposing my daughter to truths better left hidden? As dread sank deep, the question lingered. How far would I go to keep Ellie safe, and at what cost? Time that night slowed to a crawl, and the choices I had to make were about to unravel everything I thought I knew. The air thickened, buzzing with tension as I faced Nathan. Every instinct screamed at me to protect Ellie, to shield her from whatever darkness lurked behind that smirk. Despite the glow of the garden lights, shadows leaned closer, threatening to swallow us whole. Back off, Nathan, I warned, clenching my fists. Protectiveness surged within me. I could nearly feel a storm brewing in my chest. You're not welcome here. Oh, but I am. He stepped forward, arrogance spilling from every pore. This is my domain, Mark. And tonight, everyone will witness the truth. Including Ellie. Get away from her. I shouted again, ready to leap into action, but Lucia's hand shot out, gripping my arm. Mark, don't. Her voice was a desperate whisper, frightened yet firm. He is not just here to threaten us. He is here to expose the secrets. Secrets? What secrets? Ellie's voice was strained, trembling on the edge of confusion. Tears glistened in her eyes, and my heart shattered at the sight. Ellie, I looked at her, vulnerable and scared. I wanted to pull her into my arms, to tell her everything would be okay. But the truth hung in the air like shattered glass. It's time she knows, Nathan said, his grin widening, a predator ready to pounce. Trust me, it'll be much more entertaining if she hears it from me. Stop. I shouted. You won't lay another word on her. Panic clawed at my throat. What kind of nightmare was this wedding turning into? But Nathan ignored me, his attention drawing Ellie like a moth to flame. You're living in a fantasy, sweetheart. This family, your family, is built on lies. I said stop. I lunged forward, but Lucia's grip tightened on my arm, holding me back. You don't understand, she cried, the agony in her voice slicing through the chaos. He is trying to turn Ellie against you. Don't let him. For a split second, I wondered how I could get Ellie out of this spiraling mess. I had to shield her, to protect her innocence despite the storm that Nathan was unleashing. But Nathan wasn't finished. Your dear father isn't who you think he is, Ellie. He is hiding things from you, dangerous things. Things that could get people hurt. Fear twisted my gut. This man was playing with fire, trying to drag Ellie into a hellhole that we had fought to keep her out of. Enough. I forced myself to take a breath, grounding myself. Ellie, listen to me. Nathan is a liar. He will say anything to hurt our family. You have to trust me. But as she searched my eyes for reassurance, doubt flickered there. Would she trust me? Or would Nathan twist the truth into something unrecognizable? Suddenly, the distant sound of glass shattering from the reception engulfed us in a wave of noise. The guests murmured, voices rising in uncertainty. Distracted, Nathan's attention faltered for a moment. Mom, what is really going on? Ellie's voice wavered, caught between disbelief and fear. I could see confusion battling in her eyes. Ellie, please. It's not safe. Lucia's voice quivered with desperation. But Nathan seized on the moment, stepping closer. An invitation draped in menace. What is he hiding, Ellie? What has he done to your mother? The words hung between us, heavy with implication. I could almost taste the poison, sharp and bitter. My heart raced at the thought of her knowing what Lucy had done. Why she'd vanished. Would it open the floodgates to chaos, shattering Ellie's world as we knew it? I grappled for the right words, knowing that every second made things worse. I would never hurt you, Ellie. I only want to protect you. A sudden chilling laugh erupted from Nathan. Protect her? By keeping her in the dark? That's not protection, Mark. That's betrayal. A roar of voices erupted around us as guests started to notice the turmoil, panic rising. The garden lights flickered ominously. I needed to act fast, but before I could decide my next move, Nathan broke through the fray with a smug smile. Let us make this dinner interesting, shall we? And just like that, his attention turned to the crowd, and I knew in that instant, the worst was yet to come. I could no longer hold back the storm whirling around us, and I realized I had to confront the truth hidden in our past. But what price would I pay for it? Before I gathered my resolve, I could hear Nathan's sinister whisper. Tonight, the truth will set you free, or bury you all. And with that, we stood on the edge of a precipice, our lives waiting to spiral into chaos. What would Ellie choose when the tides of truth crashed down upon us? The crowd murmured as Nathan took center stage, relishing the terror he had ignited. Faces turned towards him, eyes wide with fear and anticipation. I could feel the weight of their gaze pressing down on my shoulders, amplifying the tight spiral of panic in my chest. I had to act to wrest control back from this nightmare. Ellie, I called, my voice cutting through the chaos, desperate to pull her back from the edge of Nathan's twisted revelations. But as I looked into her haunted eyes, I realized she was slipping away from me, caught in Nathan's web of deceit. Your father thinks he can protect you, Nathan taunted, gesturing expansively as if to include everyone in his twisted performance. But what if I told you he's the very reason your life is built on lies? Stop it. I forced out through clenched teeth, inching closer. Fear thundered in my ears. You're crossing a line, Nathan. But he paid me no mind. What if I told you your mother isn't who you think she is? What if there's more to her disappearance than just taking time away? Ellie flinched, the color draining from her face. I wanted to scream for him to shut up. The truth felt like a loaded gun, aimed straight at my daughter's heart. Ellie, listen to me. Those are just words meant to hurt. I swear to you it's all lies. Her eyes darted between Nathan and me, searching for answers. But Nathan, ever the master manipulator, stepped into her line of vision as if providing her with the answers he crafted, answers that dripped with poison. Your father's lies are deep, Ellie. He's hiding the truth all to protect his own shame. Why do you think he kept your mother away? No, you don't understand. Lucy burst out, the raw edge of her voice slicing through the tension. Ellie, please, this isn't the time for questions. It's not safe. But Nathan dismissively waved his hand. Oh, it's too late for that, Lucy. The truth isn't safe. The air crackled with tension, and I felt the fabric of the evening unraveling around us. Guests whispered questions to one another, their eyes darting nervously. I had to make a stand before this grew out of control. Ellie, I said, my voice steadying with a sudden urgency. Tell me, do you trust me? Do you trust what I've taught you? The blade of doubt twisted deeper in me as I saw flickers of uncertainty wash over her face. Do I? She murmured, her gaze drifting. Nathan seized the moment, leaning in closer, his voice a sinister whisper. You're questioning everything, aren't you? What if your life has been a carefully constructed illusion? What if this has all been a trap? My heart raced, pounding like a drum. You need to fight against this darkness, Ellie. Don't let him twist your heart. I'm begging you. But it was like a dam had burst. Then tell me the truth. She shouted, her voice breaking, tears spilling down her cheeks. Why did you keep Mom from me? What else have you hidden? Before I could respond, chaos erupted. A loud crash echoed through the garden as the chandeliers flickered and dimmed, plunging the scene into shadow. A panicked shout erupted from the reception, and the crowd gasped in unison, turning their focus away from Nathan and me. What was that? Someone shouted, but Nathan only laughed, a cruel mocking sound that made my skin crawl. Just a taste of the night's surprises before I could react. Nathan's eyes glinted with malicious glee as he stepped back, allowing the crowd to witness whatever disaster lay ahead. Where was Lucy? Where was Ellie in this downward spiral of chaos? My pulse pounded in my temples as I searched for my family, the world around me shifting and swirling into uncertainty. Then through the cacophony, I heard something that froze me in place. Help! Somebody! Ellie's voice cut through the thick tension, a beacon of terror shining in the dark. I sprang toward the sound, adrenaline surging through me. Where was she? But in the turmoil I realized one shocking truth, a truth that would change everything. I needed to confront Nathan to stop his mind games before it was too late. Would I be able to save my daughter from the truth that threatened to tear our family apart? The night was just beginning, and I could feel the edges of a deeper darkness beginning to unravel around us. What awaited me in the shadows? Ellie! I called out again, the desperate sound of her name barely cutting through the growing chaos. The crowd surged, scattering in panic as lights flickered ominously overhead. I pushed through the throng, my heart hammering in my chest, every beat echoing the fear wrapping tighter around me. Over here. A voice barely rose above the din. It was Lucy, her face pale, her eyes darting, desperately searching for the familiar. I dashed toward her, all thoughts of Nathan's venomous words fading for the moment. "Where's Ellie?" I panted, urgency weaving its way into my voice. She shook her head, breathless with alarm. "I don't know. She was right behind me, I swear. It's like she just vanished." The chaotic energy surrounding us surged like a wave, and I instinctively grabbed her wrist. "We have to find her. Now." A scream pierced the air, sharp and horrifying. It was from the direction of the darkened reception area. Panic bubbled in my throat as I felt dread settle in my bones. Something was very wrong. We moved toward the sound, weaving through frightened guests who stumbled backward, their faces frozen in shock and fear. Nathan's laughter rang out again, an unsettling reminder that he was still lurking in the shadows, orchestrating this madness. He was a puppet master, and we were all tangled in his strings. "Ellie!" I yelled again, the name an incantation that I hoped would guide her back. My pulse quickened as I reached the entrance to the reception, where the flickering lights cast twisted shadows on the walls. Suddenly, I spotted her, but just as quickly, she disappeared behind a wall of trembling bodies. The distress in her voice echoed like a haunting song in my mind, begging for rescue. "Ellie, I'm coming." I pushed harder through the crowd, adrenaline surging. I had to keep moving, had to keep searching. The fear of losing her amplified every heartbeat in my chest, becoming a tangible entity that wrapped its claws tighter as I closed in on her. And then I saw her. In a corner, she was backed against a table, face pale, eyes wide with sheer terror. Instinct kicked in and I lunged forward, scattering the remains of half-eaten hors d'oeuvres as I reached for her. She looked at me like I was a lifeline tossed into stormy seas. "Dad!" she cried out, her voice trembling as she pressed against the wall. "You need to go away. Please." He said, "I'm better off without you." My heart shattered at her words, a devastating knife twisting deeper. "No, you can't," he's lying. "I would never, Ellie, just trust me." But Nathan's influence loomed over her like a dark cloud, and as she looked at me, uncertainty seeped in, threatening to drown my pleas. Another loud crash shattered the air. I spun to see Nathan in the midst of the crowd, a sinister grin plastered on his face as he orchestrated this nightmare. "Look at her," he shouted. "Look how torn she is between the truth and the lies." The crowd murmured, caught in a web of confusion and horror. Fear crept into their eyes as they glanced from Ellie to me, tainted by Nathan's twisted narrative. "Ellie, listen," I begged, desperation cracking my voice. "I promise I'll explain everything later. Just take my hand, let us get out of here." But as she hesitated, Nathan stepped forward, his sinister influence a palpable weight. "Hear me, Ellie. Your father's been hiding everything from you. Even who your mother really is. Dig deep. You know you want the truth." Every word dripped poison, and I could see the doubt coiling around her heart. I felt like I was losing her, losing my chance to pull her from his grasp. The lights flickered again, plunging us into half-darkness for a moment, and I felt time slow. Hope flickered like a dying flame in the midst of confusion. "Ellie, I love you. That's the only truth that matters." But the moment held, fragile and poised on the edge of a decision, as Nathan's laughter echoed hauntingly in the darkness, and I could feel the shadows closing in. What could I say to save her from this madness that threatened to consume us both? Would my love be enough, or was it already too late? As the night twisted ominously around us, the question hung heavy in the air. What was the dark truth waiting to reveal itself? The atmosphere around us twisted like a living thing, tightening with every second. I felt the weight of disbelief hanging between me and Ellie, a chasm of betrayal that Nathan had cleverly crafted. The chaos swirled, but I couldn't let myself be swept away. "Not now. Ellie, please." I extended my hand, desperation mingling with the bitter taste of fear on my tongue. "Just look at me." Her gaze shifted, faltering in the grip of Nathan's venomous lies. "You don't know who I am. You don't know what I want." Her words cut like glass, and my heart writhed at the thought of her being manipulated so deeply. Nathan's laughter cut through the air, dark and triumphant. "Look how eager she is for the truth. But I wonder if she's ready for what that means. Are you ready to hear your father's sins, Ellie? The crowd grew restless, eyes darting between the three of us, fascinated and horrified. I could see doubt spreading like wildfire, consuming any flicker of trust my daughter might have clung to. My own heart sank. I needed to break through this horrific spell the man had cast over her. Please, Ellie. I wheezed, trying to project strength through my crumbling resolve. Everything I've done I did for you. You've always been my light, my reason. But Nathan strode closer, the puppet master in this tragic play. He hides behind the facade of a loving father. But what about the secrets? The lies? Do you think he has been honest? What about your mother? Does he even mention her? The mention of Ellie's mother struck like a bolt of lightning. It was the first crack in my daughter's emotional armor. I could see the slightest shimmer of confusion in her eyes as she wrestled with the past and the present, her identity falling apart in front of my eyes. Enough! I bellowed, anger boiling up, fueling my next words. Your mother loved you more than anything. And I would never take that away from you, I promise. But as I spoke, panic erupted within the crowd. Someone behind us shrieked, and it resonated through the building like a war cry. People began shoving, frantically trying to escape the tight confines of uncertainty. The ground felt unstable underfoot, and I could feel the tremors of fear spreading. Ellie, listen to me. I tried again, trying to drown out the world crumbling around me. Your mother and I, there are things you don't understand, things that were too dangerous to tell you. But you have to believe me when I say, Nathan is twisting everything. Shut him up. Nathan snapped at me, his voice a malicious whip. Just because you want her to believe your fairy tale doesn't make it true. Think, Ellie. The pause stretched, filled with impending doom. I could feel the air thickening, the weight of silence nearly suffocating. Ellie's brow furrowed, the internal battle evident on her face. If I could reach her, if I could just pull her into the light, then maybe we could escape this nightmare together. Then a sudden crash shattered my hope. A chandelier fell, its sparkling crystals crashing to the ground, sending shards flying like deadly shrapnel. Screams erupted, drowning out reason. People scrambled, desperately searching for safety, but my focus was entirely on Ellie. Ellie! I shouted, panic clawing at the edges of my sanity. Before I could move, Nathan leaped between us, his wicked smile growing with the chaos surrounding us. I lunged at him, but he dodged easily, and Ellie was still trapped behind him, her face shadowed by uncertainty. How do you feel now, Ellie? Nathan taunted, his voice cutting through the panic like a knife. Your father is helpless in this circus. I felt the world begin to twist again, the air thickening. If I lost Ellie now. No, I couldn't allow myself to think that. I couldn't. Ellie! I yelled one last time, pouring all my love, all my desperation into that solitary word. But would she choose me? Or would the darkness claim her as Nathan's puppet? All I knew was that time was running out, and the truth was about to be revealed. But at what cost? The chaos erupted around us, drowning out everything but the frantic beat of my heart. I fought against the tide of panicked voices and rushing bodies, my eyes never leaving Ellie. Nathan loomed like a shadow, his presence suffocating. The fear radiating from the crowd was tangible, a living entity bunching in my throat, but I couldn't let that paralyze me. Ellie! I screamed above the chaos, forcing every ounce of despair into her name. Please! You have to trust me. Her face was a mask of turmoil. Every second that passed felt like an eternity. In that moment it was as if all the love I held for her was a lifeline. But Nathan was cutting the rope. You see how he's just shouting? He chuckled darkly. A true parent would be calm, would reassure. Instead he panics like a child trapped in a nightmare. I sensed the crowd's judgment rising. Murmurs rippled through the air, each voice fanning the flames of doubt. Look at her. Someone shouted, pointing at Ellie. She deserves to know the truth. Isn't that right? Nathan sneered, turning to Ellie. What kind of a father withholds the truth about your mother? Was she a saint, or was she just as flawed as he is? Ellie's brow knitted further, and I could see the thoughts wrestling within her. You don't know what you're doing. I raged, my patience wearing thin. He lying to you, Ellie. The truth isn't what he says it is. Your mother enough. Nathan's voice sliced through me, an icy blade intent on silencing my plea. Why don't we let her decide, Let us see what she really thinks of her father. In that moment, Ellie's eyes focused on me, brimming with tears. Dad, her voice broke, the words trapped like butterflies in a net. But before she could finish, Nathan lunged, shoving me back. The world around us morphed into a mass of flailing bodies as the crowd surged. Panic gripped the room and I stumbled, desperately reaching out to Ellie. Just then, a flash across the room caught my attention, a glimmering knife. Its metallic edge reflected the chaotic lights above. A scream tore through the crowd, drowning out everything else. Someone had drawn a blade. Stay back, Nathan shouted, pushing Ellie behind him. My vision narrowed and fury ignited within me. Calculating. I had to act fast. Ellie. My voice was raw, a plea laced with fear. Get away from him. But she hesitated, eyes wide, trapped between the two sides of her world, the father she thought she knew and the monster Nathan painted me to be. Then I realized I had to show her. I had to thrust open the door of my past and expose the truth, no matter the cost. As people surged past, seeking safety, I caught sight of Nathan's hand tightening around Ellie's wrist. In a flash of instinct, I lunged once more, my feet pounding against the wooden floor, heart racing, ready to confront my worst fear. Let her go, I bellowed, breaking through the scattering mass of terrified faces. Time slowed as Nathan smirked, amusement dancing in his eyes. You really think you can save her? This is a moment of truth, isn't it, Ellie? Suddenly the room fell still. Hearts skipped, breaths hitched. In this charged moment, the air crackled with tension. Make your choice, Ellie, Nathan whispered, his voice low and sinister. Choose the father you think you know or let go into the dangerous unknown. Would she see through the fog of manipulation? Or would she sink back into the darkness? In that heartbeat, with everything on the line, I waited, holding my breath, desperate for her next words to bring salvation or destruction. Time stood still, suspended in the air as Ellie stared between Nathan and me, her face twisted with turmoil. The weight of the moment pressed down on all of us. A silence laced with electric tension. I could barely breathe, my heart pounding in my chest, taking me back to every moment I'd spent trying to protect her, every late-night talk, every belly laugh we shared, every lesson I thought I had instilled in her. Ellie, please, my voice broke, cutting through the silence, desperate to bridge the chasm that Nathan had created. Trust me. I've always loved you. I've always wanted what's best for you. With her brows furrowed and her lower lip trembling, Ellie looked back at Nathan, then at me, and for a moment, she was caught between two worlds, uncertain of what truths lay hidden in the shadows. It was the perfect manipulation, and Nathan was a master puppeteer, twisting every string. But I saw it. I saw the crack in her armor, the flicker of recognition. Why are you doing this? She said finally, her voice barely above a whisper, still trembling. Why do you care so much about tearing down my life? Nathan grinned, relishing the confusion. Because your father is a coward. He's made choices that betrayed your mother. And now he's hiding behind a facade of love. Wouldn't you want to know the truth? His voice dripped with venom, taunting me as if he were the judge presiding over our family's sins. Dad? Ellie's voice cracked again, and my heart ached to hear the despair bubbling within it. I'm here, Ellie, I responded, my tone urgent yet steady. I'm not perfect. I made mistakes and we can fight through this together. I could feel the pulsing tension around us. Everyone was waiting, hanging on Ellie's decision. Together? She echoed, a twinge of hope sparking in her eyes for an instant. But Nathan stepped in closer, placing himself firmly between us. Don't you see? The crowd was restless, whispers swirling around us like a thick fog. He's just trying to control you, to keep you in his prison of lies. Ellie's hand trembled in Nathan's grip, and in that split second, I knew I had to reach her. You know who I am, Ellie. I've never lied to you. I loved your mother. I thought it was best to keep the darkness from you. But there's more. Before I could choke out the truth, Nathan roared. Do not let him deceive you, Ellie. Make the choice yourself. Do not allow your heart to cloud your judgment. Do you want to trust a man who abandoned you? It was as if Nathan was pulling at the strings of her heart, playing every note expertly. Then, just like that, her resolve faltered again, but she pulled herself upright. I don't want to hear any more lies. Tell me the truth. The tears flowed freely down her cheeks, and that lit a fire in my chest. Okay, I shouted, frustration cutting through. The truth is I was protecting you from our past. Your mother had her demons. She disappeared because she couldn't face them anymore. I didn't want you to fall into the web of rage and guilt that she wove. The crowd held its breath as my words settled into the air, my eyes focused intently on her. I had to break through the fog. Then, an unexpected sound emerged, the shattering of glass followed by a gasp from the crowd as another figure appeared, rushing through the throng and breaking the tension in a way I'd never expected. It was Mia, frantic and breathless as she pushed her way to my side. Mark, we have to go. But Ellie's gaze was fixed firmly on me, the tempest of emotions swirling within. What were you hiding from me? What happened to Mom? It was too much. She was sick, Ellie. Sick in a way I couldn't save her from. I thought if I hid you from that truth, you wouldn't have to bear the weight of it. Ellie looked confused, her heart battling my words and Nathan's influence. The man you're calling a coward is the man who loved you enough to fight against his own fears. And just like that, something shifted in Ellie's eyes. A recognition, a choice. No, Nathan shouted, his voice a desperate screech as he realized the tide was turning. You can't believe him. He lying to you, Ellie. But Ellie looked at him fiercely. Stop. Just stop. I want my own truth. Not yours, Nathan. In that instant, the atmosphere shifted as Ellie broke free from Nathan's grip, stepping back toward me. The crowd erupted into noise, the tension crackling in the air. I reached out my hand slowly. Ellie, please. I want to hear everything. She stepped closer, defiance woven into her spirit. Tell me. All of it. Nathan fumed, his own facade slipping as the realization dawned on him. You'll regret this, Ellie. You'll turn your back on the only family you have left. Family? She spat, now fiercely emboldened. A family that lies? A family that hides? No. I want a real family. And that starts with honesty. Ellie, for your own good, no. Enough. Ellie shot back, cutting him off. You aren't going to use me as your weapon anymore. The crowd erupted her declaration, a victory over the darkness that had surrounded us. Then finally I stepped forward. Ellie, together? We can begin to unravel everything. I'll tell you all of it just as long as you allow me the chance. With every beat, the winds shifted in our favor, and I could feel the shadows receding as hope flickered back into our lives. Together, she whispered, confidence glinting in her eyes once more. Around us, the faces of the guests transformed from curiosity to concern and relief. We were riding the edge of a new beginning, one rooted in truth and love. But just as the tide shifted, Nathan's voice interrupted like a storm cloud on the horizon. This isn't over. Actually, it is. I stepped forward, unwavering. You're out of our lives. No more lies. Tonight we reclaim our story. As the crowd erupted in applause, the night transformed into something beautiful once more. Ellie stood beside me. No longer a pawn but a daughter, my daughter. We had finally taken back our strength. As we turned to face the chaos still lingering behind us, there was no longer any doubt. The shadows of our past wouldn't define us. As we walked away hand in hand, a weight lifted from my heart. The truth would guide us now. Now that you've experienced this emotional roller coaster of a conclusion, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss out on more exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and spread the love. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let us keep the conversation alive. Your support means everything.